Okay, today I wanted to make a little follow-up video about the Great Circle routes from LA to Sydney. This Great Circle route, the planes don't really follow the Great Circle. They could if they wanted to. I'm not saying there's any tricky business or anything like that going on with that, but the reason why they don't is because they want to deviate and be kind of close to Hawaii. You know, you're out here in the middle of the ocean. There's absolutely nothing out here. And especially when you go south, I mean, we don't really go in this direction, right? There's all this ocean down here. Yeah, boats will come through here from South America. If you're going to Easter Island, you might leave from the coast of South America and head out directly west. But this ocean down here is largely uninhabited. The only thing that's down there is Antarctica, and you've got to travel thousands of miles to get there, so you might as well go through South America or leave from Christchurch. A lot of the researchers will leave from like Christchurch, New Zealand, and fly into the bases on that side. And I would never argue that Antarctica is a circle, but there is a large portion of Antarctica where there are no research facilities. There's nothing there. Mary Birdland. You know, how big is that area? What does that area consist of? We really don't know. Like I said, the reason is said that it's rugged and there's a lot of terrain and stuff like that, and you can't really go there. But I mean, we put bases in Antarctica, right? We put research facilities in Antarctica, and the whole place, the whole continent, is very inhospitable. So it's kind of weird that whole area of Antarctica, if you take this path directly south, really isn't claimed by anyone. And that's because this is the biggest part of the South Pacific Ocean. And there's, like I said, there's very little down there. There's very little travel that goes on in that region, but that's beside the point. So when we look at the path from LAX, it's not a perfect great circle. We are going to draw a great circle with straight lines. We're not going to curve the lines or anything like that. Because the way this map is laid out, it is wrapped around. Again, this is assumed to be a globe, right? The proof of concept here is that I can take the latitude lines and the longitude lines on the ground, and we can curve them around to this pole and curve them around to this pole. With a flat earth map that is centered like this, the edge on the outside is exactly what I need it to be, right? So we could triangulate Australia from the center and make Australia the right size and not stretch this out so much down here. But it's very, if you're considering that it's a globe, if that's your assumption, that would be very difficult to do because I'm not considering that when I hit the edge, I'm going to come out in relation to where I am on the earth. And that's the thing that's kind of confusing about this map, is it's not really resetting to the other side, because I want us to consider what way we're traveling, right? We're traveling to the west, southwest. And as we travel to the west, southwest, we get to Hawaii. Remember, Hawaii is pretty much in line with the Baja Peninsula, right? So as I'm traveling south, I'm going this much further south of Hawaii, so that would put us right in here, right? If I wrap the globe, right, which is what this is, we're laying it out flat, we're proving latitude and longitude. I'm not saying the Earth is a globe, I'm saying this is based off of the assumption of a globe. The reason why I like the map, the reason why this is the way the Earth would be laid out, is because we have a South Pole, we have a North Pole. We have these circular latitude lines, and we have curved longitude lines that go around to the pole. See how these form these concentric circles is basically what it is, and that's what a great circle is. So when we imagine where we are in relation to Hawaii, we're traveling south, right? So when we hit the edge, we're not coming off the other side over here. Right? That would be the wrong direction based on where we are, based on where Hawaii is, based on the way that you would wrap this around. So this node would be folded down and around to the back. This node would be folded down and connect to this node. This node would connect to all three of these nodes, right? They're all occupying the same space. So when we think about what direction we're traveling, where we are in relation to the equator, we're going to reset here, right? Because we're still traveling in a western direction. So if we imagine the sun down here south of the equator, it's doing a circle. It's rising in the east and it's setting in the west. On the equator, on equinox, it would do a straight line. To the north, it would rise to the east and it would set to the west. As it got closer to the tropics, it would do a circle. Then it would come around and it would do a straight line on the equator. It would come around. We're still traveling from east to west, right? We're still doing this circle of the sun. The sun is not changing direction south of the equator. So when we look at where the reset actually is, it would be on this side because we're folding this side around and this side and this side and this side around to the center. So the reset would actually be here. And we continue, if we're thinking about folding that around and folding this and this and this, we're going to reset somewhere in this vicinity on this side because of the way this wraps around. So if I'm traveling directly east and west, let's say I'm traveling to the east, I'm going to reset over here to the west, right? If I'm traveling to the south, this direction is south, I'm going to reset over here traveling directly south. But everything in the middle kind of compresses together because the assumption is this is wrapped into a globe. That is why Australia is stretched out. All of these lines on this side are stretched out because the person who made this is imagining this connecting together at those 4 points, and everything else in between is kind of wrapped around like you make a globe. If you look in the globe factories, they're like fans that you wrap around a sphere. That's the only way that you can wrap a globe around a sphere is to, consider the shape. What we're saying is that when we're considering the shape, we're making a lot of assumptions. For one, if we look at the globe model, there's this vast section of ocean down here. We never travel south of 60 degrees. We never really travel in this vicinity. We do, but if you think about it, they're linear paths, right? From here to there, or from here to here, or from here to here. We don't go in all of this area, and the argument that I'm making is that the longitude and latitude lines are nothing but circles on the ground. And that's what they are when we really look at it, when we really think about it. And if you center the Earth and you assume that it resets in every direction, and the distance is exactly what it is, right? If we consider that this reset would be based on the distance from here to Hawaii, right? That would be what we would base it on, would be the distance rather than the shape of the globe, right? I mean, that's the way it would be set up. It's not a perfect circle. As a matter of fact, the way I imagine it is like this. So if we look at this and we look at the separation here, this is kind of like the reset because we're folding it into itself in the 5th dimension, which is an extra axis of space. Remember, we have 10 axes of rotation in 5 dimensions instead of 1 in 3-dimensional space. If you imagine the Earth on its axis, you can turn the Earth, you can tilt it, in the globe model, it's 23 degrees tilted on its axis. You can spin the globe on that axis, but you only have 1 axial rotation. You only have that 1 axis. And in 5 dimensions, you have 10 of those. So it's not a circle the way that we think about it. It's placed into the water. There are bounds inside of the water, according to the Bible, and those form the reset, which make the exact distance. That's where this map is off, is it doesn't make the distance exactly what it is. Hopefully you can see where I'm going with this. But if we consider the path, if we're resetting here, we're traveling what direction? We're traveling southwest, right? I'm still traveling to the southwest. What way is the sun going to circle? It's going to circle this way. So I'm going to reset here. I'm going to be traveling southwest. I'm still traveling southwest, right? Because we're resetting from the equator up here, and we're resetting very close to this nodule here, traveling what direction? Southwest. Look at the lines, right? This is north of this. And where it kind of deviates a little bit is here at the end of the journey. If you want to make it exactly the way that it is, I would use this deviation up here, and I would apply it to here as well, right? So we have a deviation from the great circle, which would be a straight line. This is not a straight path. It's not a straight line, it's curving. So to fix that on this particular map, I would need to make that little deviation into Sydney. But like I said, the map's not laid out perfect. We're proving a proof of concept and the way that a reset would work. And a reset is definitely possible. If we can conceptualize things like this as humans, and we believe that God created the entire cosmos, God exists in an extra axis of space. And you don't have an extra axis of space in the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension would remove the obstruction from the third dimension. So you would imagine maybe being able to take a ball and flip the ball inside out without breaking its skin, right? All it's doing is it's changing the properties in three-dimensional space, allowing me to walk through walls. I would be able to inhabit the space of the wall or the space of the earth, wherever I wanted to inhabit, with access to the fourth dimension, like Jesus walking through wall. That would be access to four-dimensional space, but Jesus being God in the biblical model would give him access to that entire extra axis that's in the fifth dimension, which is actually adding space. And when you add space, just like the difference between 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions, you're able to fold space, do a lot more with space. Particle physics could not exist the way that it does in 2 dimensions on the Planck scale, right? You can imagine a current flowing on there, but particle physics in 3-dimensional space wouldn't work in 2 dimensions. You've got to have 3 dimensions. You've got to have that polarity, right? You've got to have good and evil. You've got to have positive and negative. But if we move beyond that to 5 dimensions, we're beyond the polarity. We're beyond the positive and negative. We're beyond the hologram, right? Which is basically kind of what we're describing. So anyway, I hope that kind of clarifies it, the way to stitch it together. You've got to think about what direction you're traveling. You've got to think about, on this particular map, the way it would connect together in the mind of the creators to get it to follow the correct path. But the point, the proof of concept, is that if you consider a reset on the outside of this in every direction, that is the exact distance from here to here, or from here to here, then you're going to be able to reset much better in a straighter direction, and you're also going to be able to draw those perfect latitude and longitude lines with the perfect distance, because the outside is exactly the distance that we need it to be. So hopefully that clarifies. If it doesn't, I'd be happy to make an extra video to go over it, but hopefully you get it. And I will see you guys in the next one. I'm going to try to get to another one today because I didn't make one yesterday. And there's a lot to go over here with the proof of concept. Like I said, I can prove that the Earth is flat. Mathematically, you can prove that the Earth is flat. The refraction equation, along with observation, we're going to be going over that. So if the Earth is flat, there's only one way that it can be laid out, and it's not with an ice wall. So I'll see you guys in the next video.